A woman named Eleanor found a snake egg in the wild and, without a second thought, ate it. Soon after returning home, she began vomiting incessantly. A physician examined her and declared that she was pregnant. The villagers of Oakwood believed the woman was carrying a monster in her womb. The village chief ordered her to be tied to a tree, intending to set the wood on fire. Eleanor's parents fell to their knees, kowtowing until their heads were bruised, and pleaded, "We'll take her and move away from the mountains. Please don't burn her." Seeing the elderly couple's desperation, the village chief took pity and decided to lock Eleanor in the woodshed for a few days while they reconsidered. Inside the woodshed, Eleanor wept as she touched her belly. In the middle of the night, she suddenly gave birth to a large egg. The egg fell to the ground and cracked open, revealing a small green snake. Eleanor was terrified, but the little creature spoke. "I won't harm you." Her heart softened, and she decided to keep the snake, naming it Jade. Jade grew quickly, reaching the thickness of an arm within 6 months. It hid in the woodshed during the day and only ventured out at night. 5 years later, Jade had grown as thick as a tree stump, and when coiled, it took up half the yard. Noticing the elderly couple often sighing with worry, Jade said, "If I stay any longer, I'm afraid I'll bring trouble upon you." Eleanor stroked its head and cried, "Take care of yourself." Jade bowed its head 3 times in the yard before slithering into the mountains, where it found a cave to live in. Eleanor's eldest son, Thomas, needed to take the imperial examinations, but lacked the 50 taels of silver required to bribe officials. To make matters worse, both of his elderly parents fell ill, and there was no money for medicine. Thomas crouched outside the cave, weeping. Jade emerged and said, "Take my left eye. It will turn into a luminous pearl." Thomas hesitated, but Jade urged, "If it weren't for your parents saving me back then, I would have died." "This is nothing in comparison." Thomas gritted his teeth, accepted the pearl, and sold it for 60 taels of silver, enough not only for the bribe, but also to cure his parents' illness. Later, Thomas indeed became an official and, within 10 years, rose to the rank of general. However, not long after, he was framed by treacherous court officials and faced a demand of 100,000 taels of silver for his release, or else he would be executed. Desperate, Thomas remembered that Jade still had its right eye. He immediately led over 100 soldiers, armed with swords, to surround the cave. "Give me your right eye, or I'll burn your cave down," he demanded. Jade's eyes reddened with anger. "I gave my left eye out of gratitude. How can you treat me like this?" "Enough talk," shouted Thomas. The soldiers charged with their swords. Enraged, Jade swung its tail, sending a dozen men flying, and coiled around others, crushing them. In no time, the ground was littered with bodies, and Thomas lay dead. Jade returned to the cave, holding the memorial tablets of the elderly couple close. It took one last look at the village down the mountain, and then disappeared, never to be seen again.